Have you ever felt that knot of anger tighten in your stomach when you see someone being treated unfairly? That urge to step in, to say something, to make things right? We all have that desire for justice, that fear of helplessness. What would you do? Where are you watching from today? Let us know in the comments below. It's always amazing to see our global family. And hey, if you're already feeling that spark of wanting to know more, that little nudge of curiosity, go ahead and tap that like button. It helps us bring more stories like this to you. This story we're about to share? It's exactly for people like you, people with a good heart. Now, imagine walking into a familiar, cozy diner, the smell of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries filling the air. You see a man sitting quietly at a corner booth, a well-behaved dog resting calmly at his feet. But something feels a little off, a subtle tension in the atmosphere. This story revolves around such a moment where a veteran simply wanted to enjoy a meal with his loyal service dog, but an unexpected challenge arose. Let's dive in to see what happened next. The bell above the door of Rosie's diner jingled softly as Dustin entered, the familiar scent of frying eggs and maple syrup wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. Shadow, his Labrador service dog, heeled perfectly beside him, tail giving a gentle thump against Dustin's leg. Dustin, a man with kind eyes etched with the quiet strength of someone who had seen more than his fair share of the world, chose a booth near the window. Shadow settled down instantly, a picture of calm amidst the morning bustle. A waitress named Bethany, with a warm smile and a cheerful "good morning," approached their table. "What can I get for you today?" she asked, her gaze briefly and kindly acknowledging Shadow before returning to Dustin. Dustin ordered his usual, a stack of blueberry pancakes and a black coffee. Bethany jotted it down, her pen moving quickly across the notepad. Everything felt normal, peaceful even. But a few minutes later, as Bethany was pouring Dustin's coffee, a voice cut through the gentle hum of the diner. "Excuse me, sir? I'm going to have to ask you to remove that dog." Dustin looked up to see a woman standing beside their booth, her face tight with disapproval. Her name was Beverly, and she was a regular at Rosie's, known for her particular ways and a tendency to voice her opinions loudly. Dustin's calm demeanor didn't waver. "Ma'am, Shadow is a service dog. He's allowed to be here." His voice was polite but firm, carrying the quiet authority of someone who knew his rights. Beverly scoffed. "A service dog? He looks perfectly healthy to me. People just bring their pets everywhere these days. It's ridiculous." Her voice rose slightly, drawing the attention of a few other patrons. Dustin felt a familiar weariness settle over him. It wasn't the first time he'd had to explain Shadow's purpose. "Shadow helps me with a medical condition, ma'am. He's trained to perform specific tasks." He kept his tone even, not wanting to cause a scene. Bethany, who had been listening with growing unease, stepped in. "Beverly, sir, is right. Service animals are permitted in restaurants." She offered a reassuring smile to Dustin. But Beverly wasn't easily dissuaded. "Well, I don't like it. It's unhygienic. What if that dog sheds on the food?" Dustin's patience was starting to wear thin, but he took a deep breath. "Shadow is well-groomed and trained not to bother anyone. He stays by my side." He gently patted Shadow's head, a silent reassurance passing between them. The exchange continued for a few more tense moments, with Beverly becoming increasingly agitated and Dustin remaining steadfast in his explanation. Other diners started whispering, their breakfast conversations interrupted by the unfolding drama. Bethany looked increasingly flustered, unsure of how to de-escalate the situation. Finally, the owner of Rosie's, a kind woman named Eleanor, who had been in the back, came out to see what the commotion was about. Bethany quickly explained the situation. Eleanor, a woman with a no-nonsense attitude but a fair heart, listened carefully to both sides. She knew Dustin was a regular and had always been respectful, and Shadow had never caused any trouble. She also knew Beverly could be challenging. "Beverly," Eleanor said calmly, but with a hint of authority in her voice, "Dustin is correct. Service dogs are legally allowed in restaurants. Shadow is well-behaved and isn't bothering anyone. I need you to please let it go." Beverly huffed, clearly unhappy, But seeing the firm look on Eleanor's face, she finally relented. "Fine," she grumbled, before turning away and muttering something under her breath as she went back to her own table. The tension in the diner eased slightly, and Bethany quickly brought Dustin his pancakes, offering an apologetic smile. "I'm so sorry about that, Dustin." Dustin offered a small, understanding smile in return. "It's all right, Bethany. Thank you." He looked down at Shadow, who hadn't moved an inch throughout the entire exchange, a silent pillar of support. Dustin ate his breakfast, the earlier incident leaving a slightly sour taste in his mouth despite the delicious pancakes. He couldn't understand why some people were so quick to judge and so unwilling to understand the vital role service dogs played in the lives of their handlers. Shadow, more than just a companion, was his lifeline, helping him navigate daily life with a condition that wasn't always visible to the eye. About 2 hours later, the lunch crowd was starting to trickle into Rosie's. Dustin was still there, nursing a second cup of coffee and reading a book, Shadow resting peacefully at his feet. The bell above the door jingled again, and a group of 4 young men walked in. They were dressed in civilian clothes, but there was something about their bearing, their haircuts, the way they carried themselves, that spoke of discipline and camaraderie. They were Marines. They looked around the diner, their eyes scanning the room before one of them, a young man with a friendly face named Caleb, spotted Dustin in his corner booth. He nudged the others, Finn, Jackson, and Owen, and they made their way over. "Excuse me, sir?" Caleb said respectfully, stopping beside Dustin's table. Dustin looked up a little surprised. "Yes, we couldn't help but notice your service dog," Caleb continued, his gaze softening as he looked at Shadow. "We heard there was a bit of an issue earlier?" Dustin nodded, a sigh escaping his lips. "Yeah, just someone who didn't understand." Finn, who had a more serious expression, spoke up. "We just wanted to say, we appreciate you standing up for your right to have your service dog with you. We know how important they are." Jackson chimed in. "Yeah, we saw what happened. That lady was way out of line." Owen, the quietest of the group, simply nodded in agreement, his eyes conveying respect and understanding. Dustin was touched by their words. He hadn't expected anyone to have noticed, let alone care. "Thank you," he said, a genuine warmth spreading through him. "It means a lot." Caleb smiled. "We understand. We've all served, and we know the bonds you can form. Plus," he added with a wink, "Shadow looks like a great dog." Shadow, as if sensing the positive attention, lifted his head and gave a gentle tail wag. The Marines asked if they could join Dustin, and he readily agreed. They pulled up a couple of extra chairs and soon were engaged in conversation, sharing stories about their time in the service, their challenges, and their hopes for the future. They talked about the importance of loyalty, the strength of camaraderie, and the unspoken understanding that exists between those who have served their country. Dustin found himself feeling a connection with these young men, a shared understanding that transcended their age difference. They listened intently as he spoke about Shadow and how the dog had changed his life, providing him with not just practical assistance, but also unwavering companionship and emotional support. As they talked, Eleanor came over to their table, a warm smile on her face. "It warms my heart to see you all together," she said. "Dustin, your lunch is on the house today." Dustin started to protest, but Eleanor waved her hand dismissively. "Nonsense. It's the least I can do. And to all of you," she added, looking at the Marines, "thank you for your service." The Marines thanked her, and the atmosphere at their table felt light and filled with genuine camaraderie. Beverly, who was still in the diner, glanced over at their table a few times, a look of something akin to surprise on her face. Perhaps seeing these young men, who clearly held Dustin in high regard, made her reconsider her earlier judgment. As the Marines finished their lunch and prepared to leave, Caleb turned to Dustin. "It was an honor meeting you, sir, and thank you for your service." The other Marines echoed his sentiment, shaking Dustin's hand with respect and offering a friendly pat to Shadow. As they walked out of the diner, the bell jingled once more, leaving behind a feeling of warmth and connection. Dustin watched them go, a genuine smile on his face. He had come to Rosie's for a simple breakfast, but He had left with something much more valuable, a reminder that even in moments of frustration and misunderstanding, there are good people in the world, people who understand, people who care. And sometimes, the most unexpected encounters can bring the greatest comfort and reaffirm the bonds that connect us all. The moral of the story? Never underestimate the power of understanding and the strength found in unity. A little bit of empathy and respect can go a long way in making the world a better place for everyone.